All right, my friends, welcome to another weekly team call. It is Tuesday, July 24th. We are in the final stretch of the summer. August is right around the corner, which means convention is right around the corner. There's a lot of amazing things happening in the business. If you haven't checked out your shop lately, check out the steals and deals section. There's a lot of great things happening there. But that is not why we're here this week. This week we've got some exciting things happening, and I'm so thankful that each and every one of you showed up. It's a testament to your dedication to your business, and I couldn't be more proud as the mama bear to see each and every one of your faces. So we have a special guest this week. His name is Todd Burrier. He started out as a personal friend. I met him after he took my yoga class, and he was just some dude in my yoga class. And I fell in love with his wife. A girl crushed on his wife. She was one of my longtime students. And we got to talking, and I realized that here in this tiny little town of Westminster, Maryland, Carroll County, there was a gem of a direct sales marketer right underneath my nose. And we talked and talked and talked, and eventually, starting this past January, we started working together very closely, one-on-one, and he has helped guide and help me mold my mindset to a more clearer picture that's going to help me be more successful, and as a byproduct, every single one of you. And I'm super excited. He's got decades of experience in direct sales. Don't roll your eyes. You have decades of experience in direct sales. And it is just an honor to have somebody with so much information coming onto this team and sharing these nuggets with us. I could not be more excited. How was that for an introduction?
There's no way I can live up to that.
I tried my best.
It's probably only going to go downhill from here, so please forgive me ahead of time.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, Marie, for asking me to be here tonight, and it's an honor and a privilege to hang out with you guys for a little while and just see if I can provide something of value that may benefit you at all. So anyway, thank you, Marie, for asking me. It's a huge, huge honor and a huge responsibility.
Well, I'm certain you are up for the task. So I know you very well, but my friends and my team here, they may not know you as well. So why don't you give us a little rundown of who you are, what you're about, and what you bring to the table?
So as Marie said, I'm married to a pretty cool lady. I'm married way above my pay grade. And I don't remind her of that because I feel pretty blessed to have been so fortunate. But this year we'll be married 30 years. We have 2 kids. My son, who's here visiting from California, who's 29, and my daughter, Allie, lives in Charleston, South Carolina. She's 27. And so I've been in network marketing, direct sales since May of 1989, and full time since January of 1990. And it's been really an incredible life. Not an easy journey at all. If you had told me just a few years prior to me being involved that this is what I would do for a living, I would have laughed at you, because I am by nature a pure introvert. I've struggled with low self-esteem my whole life, really my whole life. That kind of thing never totally goes away. You learn how to deal with it and you grow on top of it a little bit, but especially in my early days. And really didn't come from any money and had no ambition as a young person. And made my way into banking eventually after putting myself through college as a bartender, and then ended up in banking for about 4 years and was laid off twice over at that period of time because of problems in the economy or with the institutions that I was with. I was actually doing okay. And although I'm very grateful for that, because I think I would have, I was not a big thinker. I think I would have ended up being in banking forever, and I would have missed this unbelievable journey that I've had. So I'm so grateful. Ironically, the first layoff is how I met my wife, but that's a whole nother story that would take too long to tell. That's a better story. But so the second time that this happened was January of 89. And I was married, we were pregnant, and it's hard enough for a young couple to be making their way. We were living in this little tiny concrete box in Gaithersburg, Maryland, and we were barely scraping by. And I'll never forget thinking to myself, how am I going to go home and tell my wife that I don't have a job, and she's getting a little too big to work. And so that ended up being a great thing for me, because after I cried about it for a couple of days, I think for the first time in my life, I had true resolve. It was like, I never want to be in this situation again where this could happen to me and affect people I love. Most of us by ourselves will figure it out and be okay. But that's how I felt about it. And I had no idea what I was going to do. And so I found it. I found a safe haven. I got a job in another bank at half the money. So I went back behind a nightclub bar 3 nights a week so that we could make ends meet while I tried to figure out what was next. And so, I was searching for freedom from that happening. And I didn't really have a clue what to do. The only thing I could see that offered freedom were sales jobs. And I'm just not a salesman. It's not in my personality. I actually had tried for some pretty good sales jobs prior to that last banking experience. And, for high-level sales jobs, you eventually have to take an aptitude test before they'll hire you. And every time I must have interviewed okay, because I always got to the aptitude test. And then I always got the exact same answer. You're a nice young man, but you're no salesman. So that was, which is probably good, because I really didn't want to do it anyway. I guess I showed through. So, I didn't know what I was going to do. Starting a business never crossed my mind. I didn't come for money. I didn't have money. It was never in my thinking. And I ended up in a traditional multi-level marketing meeting back in late May of 1989. And I tell you, I was pretty convinced I was going to get rich in 6 months. All I got to do is spend my $3,000 and get started, and I'll do just fine, and I'm going to get rich. And I figured out in the next week or two that wasn't going to happen quite that fast. When everybody near and dear to me told me how stupid I was, or that I was a dreamer, or it was a pretty brutal start. And it's interesting, and I don't know if I've even shared this with you, Marie. Ray Higdon interviewed me on his podcast like a year and a half ago, and I shared with him my start. He said, "Now wait a minute. So you're telling me basically everybody that was near and dear to you was brutal to you, and you're not a salesman, and you were an introvert, and you had low self-esteem, and you didn't have any money. That's all the reasons people quit. What made you do it?" And I said, I think at the time, because obviously looking back is way easier than figuring out when you're in it, I wanted freedom more than I wanted someone else's approval. And I just refused to quit, even though it was unbelievably hard. It was, the first year was just, I'm not going to say I didn't cry a lot, because I probably did, but it was a different age too. I mean, the acceptance of a home business, this is 1989. Nobody made money from home. There was no such thing. It's now in every community, you can point to people who have made money in direct sales or network marketing or some mechanism that they applied energy and created something. It's an entirely different animal now. But then it was completely whacked. And so actually I over the next couple of years, I started to have a lot of success. And I worked my tail off. I poured myself into personal development. I poured myself into training. and then that company had a little problem, and I lost my income overnight and had to start all over again. And that wasn't very fun. And really though, it was that, it's a whole meandering journey. I grew up a little bit in that opportunity and learned that it didn't quite fit my value system. Before that, I didn't know what I didn't have any base. I didn't know what I didn't know. And And in the mid-90s, I was looking for something different that didn't involve a heavy investment. And it was a lot of stuff that, nothing wrong with what they were doing, just didn't fit me. And then I found something that was a little more in line with my value system, and ended up building a large international business that has, really afforded me a really unique life. Like I said, I have two children who never saw their father go to a job. I saw every single thing my kids ever did. I don't know how you put a price tag on that. I mean, that was magical. And then through that process, we've done a lot of great stuff, traveled quite a bit, and I also discovered that what I love most is to teach and help other people, and that's what turns me on. I'm still not a salesman. I got really good at doing it, but never from a salesy perspective, which maybe, Maria, as we go through tonight, I'll share some of that too. But so, yeah, I've been in the industry now for almost 30 years. I've trained thousands of people all over the world. And I just love what this does for people. And I think this is one of the best, anything you do from home are connected to a direct sales model where you have the community and you have the ability to really develop who you are and how, that really precious thing that's called you, that we don't get a whole lot of that outside. I mean, I think that what this does for people is unbelievable. And so it's why I love to do it. So was that enough, Marie? I mean,
I think so. There were a couple of things that just really stood out to me about your story. First of all, the very first time you signed up for a direct sales company, your sign-up fee was $3,000. I kind of just choked a little bit on that.
Well, that wasn't the fee. The sign-up that night was $350. But in order to do it the right way, it was $3,000.
Okay. I know people that that is just mind-blowing, and that you stuck with it for so long, and that I just think that's wonderful. And I love that you were able to take the skills that you learned from the first company and parlay it into another, right? Because what that says to me is that it's not company specific, it's not industry specific, it's habits specific, it's work ethic specific, it's doing certain things will always produce the same reward. And that's something that I've started to learn from you as well, because we've started to put systems in place. We started to work on the same daily tasks and the same systems. And I've started to see that just by implementing some of these strategies, you start to get the results. And I understand that it's the work, not the opportunity, that makes or breaks your success story.
Absolutely true. Absolutely true. It's one of the things I love about the industry is it's not prejudicial in any way. It doesn't care what your history is. It doesn't care, where you went to school, it doesn't care. It only matters, are you willing to serve other people, help other people, and put in the work? And anybody can do that. And everybody has their own set of affinities and gifts and skills that they can bring to bear. It doesn't take a certain type. I've been coaching, training, teaching, and working with thousands of people all over the world. And I know many, many thousands of people who have made incredible livings. And the only thing that is the same about all of them is that they had will. They just had will. And there's no, oh, well, look at that. That's why that's the thing. That's the thing.
There's no secret sauce other than effort.
And we all have will, right? We're born with that, right? We're born with, to me, will is that beautiful little blend of the persistency that you have of a 5-year-old who wants a cookie, right? Who just won't stop until you say, okay, take the whole jar of cookies, please, right? They'll just keep asking, can I have a cookie? Can I have a cookie? They won't stop, right? We're born with that, right? We're born with that.
Right.
Society starts to push it out of us and say, hey, you shouldn't do that. But, You can do it nicely. and then the second part of that is just the endurance, right? It's just the over the long haul, not just showing up for a season and things, because that doesn't produce nothing of lasting value in life comes from one season of effort. Nothing, not a relationship, not physical well-being, not anything you ever accomplish. It comes from enduring journey, period.
Committing to the long haul.
Yeah.
Well, I had a few questions that I thought maybe we could just go over, maybe to help kind of guide the conversation a little bit. So right now we're in the summer, and our industry, the beauty industry, kind of has this reputation for being slow. And and people will say lots of things like, oh, lots of people are on vacation, or beauty industry specific, like, oh, ladies don't wear makeup in the summer because, you know, their skin's tan and they feel like they don't need foundation or whatever. Anyway, I know that it's not just this industry because I've talked to other people in other industries before. What is your take on the summer slump? What do you think is the biggest hurdle direct salespeople face during the summer slump, and how do we make that a non-issue in our businesses?
So the actual the biggest issue is the perception of a summer slump. It's one of those things that is a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like, I started in the summer, and I've had some of my biggest growth months in the history of the industry, for me, in the summer months. But there are some truths you have to acknowledge in the summer. And that is that, yes, some people are a little more distracted, right? Some people are a little more distracted. But the reality is the need is still the need. So someone who cares about beauty doesn't stop caring about beauty in the summer. Someone who needs to make extra income doesn't stop thinking about that. And depending on the degree of that, it may actually be magnified. So in other words, if someone is, if they're looking into the opportunity, which crosses everything, it doesn't matter. The opportunity is the opportunity. That's 95% of the population have some need for an opportunity. Whether they're willing to act on that need or not is not for us to say. It's only our jobs to open a door for someone. But if you think about a high percentage of that 95%, the summer magnifies that need, because suddenly they have a season when they're supposed to be going and doing things, and they can't because they have financial constraints, and yet they have friends and other people. So literally it's a little more magnified from that particular need. And the same for a product need. And it doesn't matter what the product, is it beauty or if it's fitness or if it's skincare, it doesn't matter. It's if people enjoy those products, you need those products, they don't stop thinking about that, right? And so what you have is some of the population is a little bit less urgent, but you have another segment that's more urgent because it's more in their face that, oh my gosh, I can't do certain things again this summer. Like the last 5 summers, nothing is changing. And so the need doesn't change, but because some of the population is a little distracted, they're not distracted the whole summer. They're only distracted in pockets. So let's say you operate, I'm a numbers guy. I look at the whole business from mathematics with heart. That's how I see it. Because what we do is so valuable for people's lives that, if we treat them right and share it, it'll fall on the right people. In the summer, you'll have a slightly less conversion ratio than you would have in another time of the year. Slightly less, not significantly less, slightly less. The reason it becomes more of a slump for some people, and I say some people because there's lots of people that go through the summer don't even notice it. It's like they don't even notice it from a business perspective, is because if we feel as if it will be slower, so we act slower, we're now acting slower, we're now talking to less people at a time when our conversion rate is slightly lower. So we have a compounding impact on productivity. Does that make sense?
Perfect sense.
And it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? When in fact, it's not really necessary, because the truth is people are actually easier to talk to in the summer. It's summertime in general people feel happier, they feel lighter, they have a little bit less stress, they're a little bit more relaxed, there's more social opportunities. So it's actually an easier time to talk to people than other parts of the year. And yet, so you have some people who don't participate in what's possible in the summer, and it just doesn't just affect their summer, it affects the beginning of the fall, which is really the piece. So, the thing to think about is what I teach in the summer is, first of all, business is business and consistency rules the day, right? The people who are consistent day in and day out, they're the ones that succeed in everything. It does, again, there's no magic soup. It's not like, if I eat the magic soup, I'll succeed today. It's that consistency day in and day out, which builds the skills and creates the contact base of the people who want, right? People who are looking for you, so to speak. And so if you're consistent with your new contacting in the summer, and actually the strategy is counterintuitive. You don't do the exact same. Let's say you're someone who commits to X number of contacts through the year, right? Which is a standard recipe for anyone building a business. In the summer, you edge that up just a little bit. So maybe you add an extra contact a day or an extra 2. First of all, they're easier to make because people are easier to talk to. And second of all, what you have is you create a reverse compound for the fall, because you will maintain your personal productivity and maybe even grow a little in the summer. But when you hit fall can either start at the beginning of September or it can start at the beginning of October. And the summer decides, because if someone decides to, the July and August are slower, so I'm not going to do as much, then you're basically starting over in September. So you don't come into September with a full pipeline, right? Whereas someone who has maintained it and bumped it up a little bit, they come into September. First, they have good Julys and good Augusts, and then they are in a perfect position to really get the compounding effect on the back end in the fall. So number one is to maintain the level of contacts. And the other cool thing that's important is that's what the pros do, right? So you have less competition this time of year because so many people who are only doing it just a little here and there, they don't do anything. So you have less stuff, less voices in the market, which allows you to make a bigger impact. And then the other thing that you can think about is maintaining the touches for your customers and your team, because they are also in more social settings this time of year. And so what conversations happen in social settings? Intimate conversations, right? Intimate conversations about money or beauty or something they're trying to figure out or something they're trying to solve. And if you're maintaining, it doesn't have to be anything more than just little touches. Hey, just checking in, Marisa, how you doing today? Is there anything I can do to help you? Something like that, or here's a quick tip for you, or something like that, which I'm sure you're probably already doing, and maybe this is just augmenting why that's so important, because your name and your impact is fresh on their minds, right? That's the power of consistent exposure, is that when they're in social settings, whose name's going to be on their lips? Whose company's going to be on their lips? So you have all kinds of opportunities just by doing something as simple as those two things. There's more things, but those two in general make summer literally a springboard as opposed to a full stop. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And what I love about that is hearing that it basically feels like you're getting ahead of the crowd, right? Because everyone else has already committed to being slow and checking out and pulling back. And if you are brave enough and strong enough and courageous enough and committed enough to just keep driving forward, essentially what you're going to do is pick up so much steam that you're going to be impossible to stop. And because we see these things happen in our business, we see these surges or hyper growth or whatever you want to call it, where someone goes from where you don't hear from them ever to suddenly recruiting 10 people or 20 people in a month, or they had mediocre sales their whole life and then suddenly they had $3,000 in sales. And I think that this is exactly how it happens.
Yeah, there's the overnight success took like a year to happen, or 2 years to happen, or 5 years to happen, right?
Right.
There's very few, right? The overnight success is a myth. It's an unfortunately overhyped myth in the industry in general, right? So-and-so got involved and became a rocket star, in 6 months. That's not normal. It does more damage than good. But yeah, this is the people that end up playing big long run are the ones that just continue, put a foot in front of the other, a foot in front of the other, a foot in front of the other. It's simple.
And it's deliberate and it's tactical, right? It's not a magical thing that you just have to get the secret handshake, which is what I talk about all the time. Like feeling like you got to know the secret handshake to be in the success club. But this is very tactical and deliberate. And I just love stuff like that I can just implement.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So my team, as you already know, is very new. Unique in general is very young in the direct sales industry. The company's only 5 years old. I only personally have 3 years of direct sales experience, and I know a majority of my team, this is their first direct sales ever. So we're all still kind of like in that infancy phase of like learning and figuring out the ropes. But going to a veteran, someone that's got, almost 30 years of experience, what would you like tell your younger self? When you first started, what do you feel like is the piece of advice that you wish you would have known ahead of time?
Does it just have to be one thing?
No, you can do as much as you want. I don't know.
So I think the most important thing is what I would tell my younger self or anyone's younger self is you aren't missing anything. Because what I've seen, obviously coming from where I came from, it was a big issue for me, but it is an issue I recently did a big mindset webinar because it's an issue for 90%, really 90% plus of people. It goes right in line with that secret handshake, but it's even more than that. It's because who do we see? We see usually the successful people, right? The people who've made it, and we see how they look, and they're glamorous, or they're this, and we think that's what success looks like. And then we start to compare ourselves to that person. How can I do that? I'm not like that. I can't talk like them. I can't. I don't show up like that, or I don't have that kind of personality. And we start to look at ourselves like, what's wrong with us? Of course, we've been conditioned to do that. I mean, seriously, we're not brought up to look in the mirror and go, let's figure out what's good about me, right? That's not how we're brought. We're brought up to look in the mirror and go, oh my gosh, how am I going to deal with that, right? I mean, I hate to say it, it's just facts. We're conditioned that way. And so we come to it thinking, we're missing things. If we could only be this or only could be that, as opposed to being able to go, wait a minute, there's only one of me, right? There's only one Leslie, there's one Sherry, there's one Michelle, there's one Susan, there's one Becky, there's one Sheila, one Amber, there's one Marie, right? You're unique, you're rare. There's no one like you. There's no one with your set of skills and gifts and affinities and talents and the resources you've gotten, the knowledge you've created, your experiences, all that you have to bring to bear, to touch people with, is exactly how you're supposed to be, right? You don't have to change. You don't have to become something different in order to succeed. It's not about that. It's the opposite of that. So to me, that is the biggest thing, because so much energy is wasted in comparison. So much. And it's criminal what it does to you emotionally and how it makes you feel unworthy of succeeding. And it's completely wrong. And the truth is, Not too often the backstories aren't told. Too often they're not, right? I don't look like what I've been through, right? I mean, and neither does anyone else. People who've accomplished something, success isn't what they look like on the stage, right? It doesn't look like what they look like when they're comfortable doing a great Facebook Live. It's the moment to moment, the beads of sweat and the tears in the cheeks and the grimacing and the struggles and your stomach feeling bad. And I mean, that's what success looks like. It's a day in, day out thing. And so that is the first thing is I would say to my younger self, hey man, just relax. You don't know what you're capable of yet, but you're okay. You're okay. And when you start applying yourself, you're going to learn, right? That you have your own stuff that you're going to be using. That's going to work just fine because that's going to be true for every single person. And then you just said the second thing, and that is there's no secret handshake. There's no special sauce. There's no magic words. There's no, if I only had this thing to say. It's not what it's about. It's really, now I got the numbers part right away, which it's important for people to get. But you have to understand that it's just a process, just like everything else. It's the same process that we all applied to learning how to walk, ride a bike, swim, drive a car, whatever it is. It's not any different. It's just applying that mentality that it's just a process. That's all. It's a process. A, I'm good enough, and B, it's just a process, so I can do it. Those two things, everything else takes care of itself, right? Because everything else is really not that difficult. Your company makes great products. You don't have to do that. They're already here, right? It takes care of all the backs and stuff. You don't have to do any of that. It's just showing up. So that's what I'd tell any newbie, including me, if it was me again, newbie.
Wow, that's so powerful. I think that's so powerful. I don't have anything to add to that. It was just that good. Okay, so from a strategy perspective, like business building, thinking about long term, we want to make this, I would say that a majority of the people, especially the ones on this call, want to make this, a career-based thing. Do you think that it's more beneficial to target customers or recruits?
So if the assumption, right, if the overarching assumption is you want to have the equivalent of a full-time income or create an income that is whatever meaningful level that matters, or whatever that is, beyond a few $100s a month. Is that because goals do drive this, right?
Right.
And so if we operate as that broad assumption that that we want to create something, a 4-figure income that's ongoing, that could be more, then the answer is yes. So here's what I mean by yes. So first of all, however you love to work is how you should work, because that's what you'll do. We're creatures of habit. Whatever we love to do, we're going to do. If we don't like to do something, I mean, now, Grant, you're never going to love every part of anything, right? I don't care if you are with a man or a woman and they are the love of your life. You are not going to love every moment together, right? There's going to be plenty of moments where you're like, right? That's just how everything. So there's always going to be some of that in everything. But if you think about the context of that, this is an age-old question in direct sales. Should you work through your product or should you work through your opportunity? And the answer is yes. The answer is yes, you should. So whatever you lead with, you can't leave the other one out. So here's what I mean. Let's say, for example, a normal course, and this would certainly feel like it's, and I don't, I'm not inside of Unique, so I can't go, this is the way I see it, right? But you guys have a wonderful product that really people feel good because they use it, because it impacts them, right? I mean, that's not a small thing. You're talking about something that is extremely emotionally driven. And so you have this product line that makes a difference. I'm right about that. Yes, you got to.
Yeah.
I haven't used it, so I know. Now I might need a little because these harsh lights. I have to. And so so it would be natural that a high percentage of the people that join are so in love with the product, that's what they're going to drive. You're going to drive product sales, right? It's just a normal thing, which is awesome because product sales, every paycheck that is ever paid comes from customers. It doesn't come from distributors. It doesn't come from the company. It comes from customers. If there's no customers, there's no business, period, right? So certainly the customer acquisition has to be there. Here's where I see the mistake frequently. And, I see it a lot in health and wellness companies. I see a lot in skincare companies. I'm coaching a rising star in a skincare company right now. Same issue. She has this issue in her team. People love working with the product, but they start thinking about bringing the opportunity, they might struggle a little bit, right? So this is a normal question, right? Well, I enjoy this part, and it's it's not the same kind of rejection when it comes to try my awesome stuff that makes you look beautiful as you want to talk about a way to make income. It's an entirely different conversation, right? And so if we look at it like those two different conversations, it's easy to throw the baby out with the bathwater instead of understanding how that transition is made. Now, again, for a percentage of the population, there's no difference. They'll go opportunity or they'll go product, doesn't make any difference. But the mistake is when someone's good with the product, but then they don't come behind and share the opportunity with their customers. That is the number one mistake I see made. And really, it's not thinking about the customer. I look at it as self-focused. It's if I don't talk to Leslie because I'm afraid of what Leslie might say to me, I'm thinking more about me than I am about Leslie. I'm not thinking about what an awesome environment it would be for Leslie to be working with this group of people and to learn what we're learning and to see the personal development and to see the growth in confidence and to see the growth in influence and to see all the skill development that that Leslie could apply to her whole life. I'm not picking on you, Leslie. It's just you're right in the middle of my screen, and so right. So I'm not gonna give her all those opportunities because I'm afraid of what she might say to me. But to me, that's selfish. That's me thinking about me. When if I really flip the script, I would think about the fact that, first of all, 90% to 95% of the population struggles with money in some fashion. And a lot of people who seem to have a lot of it don't have as much of it as you think. They just look good on the outside, but inside the door is a mountain of debt. And so here, if you have 95% of the population that needs money, that's your customer base. And so first off, many of your customers are trying to figure out a way to make money. And if you don't share with them that they could do that with this, then you have this situation, which you don't want to have. And that's one of your customers who loves your product, calls you up and tells you about an opportunity they just got in, and they want to talk to you about it because you'd be great. And you're like, what? How did that happen? Oh, I never told them there was an opportunity with this. And you can't just assume it, right? So your customers also have a financial need. Now, the next piece to that is that if we don't bring it, all of our customers are someone else's prospects. So they are going to get prospected. Then we have to consider the fact that who is the best prospect in the world for anything? Someone who already loves your product. You could not get a better prospect than a satisfied customer, especially if you know the right way to make that conversation happen, because it should only be a fun, pleasant conversation. It should never be anything other than that, because this is your customer. You love them, you're serving them, you're providing value for them, you're creating a relationship because it's a relationship business. And so the ideal way for someone who loves driving product sales is to then circle back to the customer base and have a conversation. It's just the ideal way to create that replication. Now, obviously, if someone's comfortable just building through the opportunity first and including the product, that's an easy call too. but you're going to find more, and you probably already see this, Marie, that it's more common in a company that's got super incredible products to have the situation where lots of people are comfortable working through the product and they forget that you have to share the opportunity to create replication, and your customers, satisfied customers, are your absolute. I mean, there's so many different ways you can network with your satisfied customers to expand your business, just tons of them.
Yeah, I mean, I've even heard sayings like from other presenters that they don't want to recruit their customers because that will lower their monthly sales quota, or their monthly PRS, their monthly sales stat, commissions. And so how do you feel about that?
That's scarcity mentality. That's saying, well, there's only so many more customers, so I'm not going to get more customers. So maybe if you're retiring, I can see that. But if your mentality is to build a business, you can go get more customers. If you got a product you're in love with, it's all just numbers, right? I mean, it's just mathematics. And if you're doing it with a heart and treating people the right way, so, I can't speak to people's strategy. That's their strategy. Maybe they have a good reason for it. I smell scarcity we're in an abundant world. And so, that's my mentality about it. That's a simple one for me. It doesn't make me right. That's just my opinion.
Wow. Yeah, that's awesome. So in this business, I mean, I love the idea of turning customers into presenters. Yes, they are our number one place to source. But beyond just going to a customer that's like, oh my God, I just love that foundation, and then you reply with, well, have you ever thought about doing it for the discount, or have you ever thought about, joining me on this journey? I feel like that's an easy transition. There are other ways to build a business that don't feel easy, and in fact are often avoided because we are so anti-salesy. We're so no MLM that we would rather not recruit than have someone think that we were pushing them to do something that they didn't want to do. So how do we recruit without feeling icky, authentically, and get yeses?
So I can't control the yeses. All right. I can control the no icky, if that's okay.
All right, fine.
So, I mean, it's really such a great question, and it's a very real thing. And if you think about it, why you would feel icky is because someone's made you feel icky before, or you've seen someone make someone feel icky, right? You've experienced the ick in some way, shape, or form, and don't want to look like that. And so, first we have to just acknowledge the fact that we live in an age and time where, first, our industry is absolutely massive now. It's close to 200 billion, right? 100 million people in it, over 200 billion and roughly 200 billion in annual revenue, and growing faster and faster. And so it's very rare you're going to talk to someone who hasn't been approached by something, right? Let's just put it out there. I mean, everybody you could talk to, you have to have the assumption that they've been approached by something. And actually, if you do it right, that's really good news for you, right? Because just as I mentioned earlier, when I first started, nobody could believe it was even possible to do something. Right? They didn't even believe it was possible to create a home-based income 30 years ago, right? It was just no way. Today, it's not about whether people can believe it's possible. It's about whether or not they believe they would want to do it the way they see it done, right? The hype, the pressure, I don't want to be that person who walks out my door in the morning and everybody in the neighborhood runs back into theirs, right? So I don't want to be the guy everybody runs across the street to get away from. So first, I can tell you that, I've been in the business almost 30 years. And I built multiple other things because of this business, right? Like I teach corporations leadership. I coach CEOs and other business executives. All of these, I've been asked to be on all kinds of boards. All of these people know my primary income is a network marketing income. To me, that's a little bit rare. I think it's going to be more and more common. but it's because of the style of what I believe in business philosophy. So it starts with how you're behaving. It's not about what you're saying. It's about how you're behaving. And so, first of all, when you do it the right way with kindness and honesty and respect, man, it's unfortunate, but true. You stand out. people are like, wow, I don't know what you have, but I never heard anybody talk about whatever it is like that, because everybody's like, oh, Michelle, you got to get involved. You got to do this. We're going to get rich. We're going to do, you know what I mean? It's I just threw up on myself hearing this person prospect me, right? Or you've had people, where, the market is full of people that do things where they do the backdoor prospect, right? So, I call Sheila and I haven't talked to her in 10 years. And then, I act like we're that I'm all concerned about her life and talking to her for 15 minutes. And then I go, oh, by the way, and it's like, oh, I just want to feel, I don't need to take a shower, I mean, so obviously it's all about how you treat people. And so I had to develop a way, and I call it the process. I developed a way of working because I had to deal with how uncomfortable I was, because as a true introvert with, is non-confrontational, it just really, really difficult for me to do. And so I figured out how I could focus on making you comfortable. And if I focused on making you comfortable, everything else was easy. So if you think about it in this context, the need is great. So the need is great for people to feel better about themselves. Really, that's what your products do, right? They make a difference in how people feel about themselves. And the need is great for people to have financial solutions, right? Those two needs are great. There's no reason why anybody should have to push someone to solve their own problem, right? So if you think about it in that context, it's only our job to open the door and offer the gift. Right? The gift isn't just that they get unique products. The gift isn't just that they get the opportunity. The gift is they get you. That's the super gift. They get someone who's willing to help them. That is not happening in the rest of the world. That people are surrounded by people who encourage them or listen to them or willingly will help them to do better in their life. And that's what you're doing. You're giving the greatest gift ever. And so it's not your job to make someone accept it, right? So I look at it, this is my analogy, and then I'll give you a couple little nuggets, and I think that'll satisfy what you're asking me. But, I look at it like I'm standing on the deck of a ship, and I'm out in the middle of the ocean, and as far as I can see is everyone I've ever met in the world, and then everyone else in the water below me. And I'm on the top deck of a ship, and they're in the water. And next to me is an endless stack of life preservers. What would you do? You just start chucking them as fast as you could, right? You wouldn't like focus on who grabbed it. You wouldn't worry when the one person said, I don't like that life preserver, or it's too far to swim, or I'm not sure you'll pull me up, or you wouldn't have time for that. You wouldn't jump in the water to take one to someone because now you're in the water. You would just be chucking them, and pulling the people out who said, pick me, right? That's how I see our work, is that all around us are people who are struggling. They're struggling and in many cases have lost hope. When you lose hope, it's over. I mean, you might still be breathing, but life as you know it is over. And that's what we bring to everyone we could open a door for. When you share your story and you share your heart. And so that's how I see it, as a gift. And so if you're just nice and honest and respectful, and for me, it's as simple as always saying, Sheila, I don't know if this is for you or not. And it's totally cool if it's not. But I absolutely love this, and you are the kind of person I'd love to work with. Would you like to chat about it? I mean, you can be craftier than that if you want. It's not about the words. It's just about the heart. If you come to people come to people from the heart of, this is an awesome thing. I love it. I'm doing it. Maybe it's for you. Maybe it's not. Do you want to check it out? And the answer, if you want to say no, it's cool. If it's not for you, it's cool. It's all about respecting choice, right? Nobody gets offended by being asked. They get offended by people not respecting their choice, right? And so the way I've taught that over time, I mean, sponsoring becomes easy. I mean, you're experiencing that now, right? I mean, it becomes easier the more you do it and engage, because most of the time, that if you look at the human nature statistics, right? This is human nature. If you have 10 people who absolutely have a need that they know they have, and they want to solve this need, only 2 are going to act right now. That's just the way it is. That's human nature. We don't want to try to change human nature. When you go against human nature, that's the resistance, right? We just look for the 2 while we let the other 8 know, hey, I'm here, and I can help. If it's not now for you, that's totally cool. And what happens is you get the 2, and much later you start to get some of the 8, because you're going to have some people that they're not going to get involved with you the first time just because they don't believe you're going to be doing it in 6 months. Because their friend Mary started XYZ and didn't stay with it, and they did something that didn't stay with it. So let me see if you're doing it. And 6 months later, you come back and like, well, okay, I think I need to learn about it now. I think I need to check it out now. I mean, that's like I went from a recruiting disaster to a recruiting master just by being real. You just be real and nice and honest. And you can even say to someone, you know what? I don't know how to do this very well. I don't know how to say all these words. I just know I love this. You want to talk about it? I mean, it doesn't matter how you do it if you do it with the right heart. But that's simply all I teach. And that's how you get away from ick. You never have ick if you're being open and real and honest and allowing someone the freedom to choose. There's no ick.
And I think that that's one of the places that you have helped me shift my mindset so tremendously, because I am newer in the direct sales industry, I consider myself a sponge. So I'm constantly like searching and listening and trying new techniques. And I ended up watching a video with a leader in our company who is also an attorney. And her entire training was about how to rebuttal people's reasons for not signing. And because she was an attorney, she's like, I can give you the right script to respond to anybody's excuse for not signing up right away. And so I constantly, for a while before we started working together, felt like I should always be rebuttaling with something. Oh, I understand, but if you did this, then it wouldn't be a problem. Or if, whatever it was, I always had to rebut what their reason was for not wanting to sign up, rather than just allowing it to be exactly the way it is. And today I noticed I had an issue where I was talking to a lady, and she said, I'm ready to sign up. I can't do it right now because I'm waiting on my next paycheck. And I said, I understand. And she said, can I tell you that you're the first person that I've ever talked to in direct sales that didn't try to tell me to sell some handbags and go sell some things on eBay in order to get the money to sign up? She's like, you're the first person to tell me that you just understand that I don't have the money right now, and it makes me want to join you even more.
Boom.
And that's exactly what we've done, like together in our time together, is transition that mindset from always be right, always be winning, always be on top, to always be serving. And if now's not the time, it's okay. I don't need now to be the time. When the time is right, you're going to be ready to rock and roll, and I am not strong-arming anybody to be a part of my business.
Yeah, and then it becomes fun and attractive, right? And people never forget. and this is just a little nugget, but it fits right. When you tell someone, like I mean, I can't tell you how many times in my career I said, look, you can tell me no anytime you want and it's okay, or I will never pressure you. And then when you follow through and don't do that, they never forget that. They never forget how you were treated. I mean, you over time, you work consistently, talking to new people on a consistent basis, treating them this way. You ultimately get the compounding effect over time, where it seems like you're sponsoring with relative ease over time. It's because you've talked to a lot of people, and right? There's no secret agent coffee shop. You have to let people know that you have something that can help them. But you build this reputation as the kind of person people want to do business with, you know, and that's the long run is what it's about. So I applaud that mentality, because I mean, when you get it right, you don't need objection handling. You don't need that. It's not objection handling. It's, you have a question, let's talk about it. If it works out, great. If it doesn't, it's cool. You know, we're still going to be friends. I'm still glad we're talking, and I'm going to be here when the time is right for you. Man, people love that, you know, because just like you just said, that's when you do it the non-ick way. I'm going to have to start coining that, the non-ick way. I might even make that a Facebook Live sometime. Now you need to make that a Facebook Live. I mean, who came up with it? But yeah, you stand out for kindness, honesty, respect, and that this is a long game, right? You can work fast, but it's a long game, and that's how you build long-term enduring relationships, and that's how you build a lasting business.
Awesome. Well, I mean, that was it that I had for my questions. I'm going to unmute some people and give you guys an opportunity. I'm going to mute. If you guys have any questions, you can unmute yourself. How about that? We've got just a couple minutes. It's already 9 o'clock and it's been an hour. This was a huge data dump of information, and I know that there's a lot to process, but if you did have a question, I don't want you to miss this opportunity to hear from the master, as he called himself.
I only said a master recruiter. I didn't say master.
Anybody? Ooh, silent. Oh, Leslie.
That was a lot of great information to really, like, pretty much sparked me right in the middle. I was like, gotta go, got messages to send. So that was good information. So thank you very much.
Thanks for having me, Michelle. I appreciate that.
Mute me.
I unmuted you, Leslie.
Oh, okay. My problem still seems to be finding new people to reach out to. I've got, a limited resource of friends that, continue to watch my lives and listen to me and come back. But finding, the cold market, I guess, I don't have any clue of how to make that happen. Struggling just a little bit.
So, Leslie, when you say friends, right? So how big of I know this is a little bit old school. Can you hear me?
I can now.
Okay. It's a little bit old schooly, but how big a list did you have?
Just what was on my Facebook as friends, probably 400 or 500 people. And, I went through and did my, added those people and invited them to come in, and a lot of them have, but not near what I started out with.
Okay.
And,
so,
I asked for them when I'm doing lives and stuff like that, or make my posts, I asked them to share, with their group of friends. So I'm hoping to bring in some new ones, and I have, but just not very many.
So so you're primarily working through attraction through your contact base?
Doing my lives and stuff like that. Trying to get people in that way.
So are you open to kind of flipping the script a little bit and being more purposeful in your outreach?
Yeah.
So that would be the difference, right? So there's probably a substantially bigger amount of people you could connect with, that you could purposely reach out, but there's also people you could contact that are in your friends list now that are aware, but not quite aware of what's possible because we're leaving it up to what they're bringing, what they're taking out of the lives.
Okay.
So it's more about doing some direct contacting.
Okay.
Right? And just saying, hey, can we chat? Can we have a cup of coffee? I know Maria's got a bunch of different things that she can share as technique-wise to have these conversations.
Well, I've got one that I actually have done that with and supposed to be calling her tonight. And I don't know that she's going to, sign up or not, but we are definitely talking about it and she's open to that conversation. So I'm hoping things go well.
Well, you're going to you will be able to have a lot of those kind of conversations if you want. And the mentality is, right, that the more of those conversations you have, the more people that are going to say, hey, this feels good, right? This feels good for me, which is what you want, right? You want someone that wants to be a part of it, but you also have more fun. So this is something I learned early on. If I've got $5 and that's all I got, man, I am worried about each one of those bucks, but
absolutely.
If I got $500, I ain't so worried about a couple of those bucks. And it's sort of like the same, when you get into there's a lot lead generation and different ways to reach out and referral networking. There are like this, we could do 5 hours on this and talk about the different ways to do it. But and I know that Marie's got a lot of ideas that she can share with you. But in general, if you're just having conversations every day, where even if it's just hey, I want to chat with you for a couple minutes kind of conversations, and here's what I'm up to, and I'm expanding, and maybe it's for you, maybe it's not, but you can have those all day, and you'll end up in conversations, sharing your heart, finding out what someone is, what they're struggling with, what they're interested in, and you'll be enjoying yourself and sponsoring on a regular basis.
Okay. All right. Sounds good.
You can do it. You can definitely.
Oh, I know I can. I know it.
See, there's the answer.
I'm there. All right.
Anybody else? All right, my loves. Well, I'm just going to go ahead and put a cap on this call. This was so incredible. There was a lot of amazing information. Make sure that if you have any team members that did not come on tonight, that you share the YouTube once I finally get it uploaded tonight or tomorrow. There has been a wealth of information. You could always go over to Todd's site, follow his Facebook page. He's always posting good videos, lots of things I shared even in the group this week so that you guys could get to know him a little bit, so that you were convinced that you wanted to come on and talk to him. He's amazing. He's definitely one to follow, and I'm excited for each and every one of you to start implementing some of these great nuggets. And as always, I'm here for you. If you need anything, you know where to find me. I love you guys.
I have one quick question. Can you post how to follow him?
Yes.
Okay.
I will send you specifically his site.
All right, good.
Thank you for having me, guys.
So much.
Enjoyed it.
Bye, everyone.
See you guys.
Bye.